We look at the current race, Bruno, for the Maurice Rocket Richard Trophy as you see it now, and the guys who are around him and the starts they've had. We're a third way through the year. Well, who knows with this pandemic going on, but as it stands now, how confident are you that Auston Matthews can keep his hands on that award? Because we all know he won it last year.
I'm very confident, Lepore.
Okay.
I'm very confident, and I think he wants to go back to back. And he's gotten screwed over, quite frankly, the last few seasons because he would have hit 50 goals in the first COVID year.
Yeah,
I believe he finished with 47, and he finished one goal off the Rocket. It was Pasternak and Ovechkin.
Was it one goal? I don't remember that. It was that close.
It was one. I think he was one goal behind Pasternak and Ovechkin, who had 48 goals that season. So obviously, the season ended after 70 games, and they handed out all the awards at that point. So he finishes one goal back, would have hit 50 that year. And then you go to last season, scores 41 goals in 56 games. He was basically scoring at like a 65 goal clip.
Yeah, he was in around 60. He was in around 65 like all season was his pace.
And then, like you mentioned, Lepore, he gets off to a slow start this year. People are thinking, oh man, the wrist is hurting him. Is he going to be able to turn into the Auston Matthews we've seen over the last few seasons? And people were, a little bit concerned, even though it's Auston Matthews. And then, oh my goodness, this tear that he's been on, 13 goals in the last 10 games, up to 20 goals in 27 games this season. And just looking at the odds right now, courtesy of my bookie.
Yes.
Auston Matthews is plus 370. He is second behind Leon Draisaitl in odds at plus 370 to win the Rocket Richard this season. And I know that now there's another stoppage, and who knows how that's going to affect things. And guys might be getting out of their rhythm a little bit with the Leafs, having all team activities postponed at least through December 26th. But Lepore, I'm confident, man. I think he has a real shot to go back to back here. And I think I would be betting on Auston. If you had to choose between Draisaitl, Matthews, and McDavid, Draisaitl, Matthews, and Ovechkin, right, I meant to say, to win the Rocket Richard, who would you take at this point?
Well, I assumed Ovechkin was third. So you said Matthews is at like 375.
Yeah, and Ovechkin is at plus 570.
I think that one's the bet. Like if we're talking about the straight bet, like Ovechkin at almost 6 times your money, like the tear he's been on, and like the confidence he's playing with, like I think that would be the bet. But all things being even, that's tough, man. That's tough. I think fuck it. Also, I'd go Matthews. Like I would, because again, the slow start, he's firing on all cylinders now. He scores goals so many different ways. I really do think this, and like people would go crazy. I think he's the best goal scorer that I've ever seen. Like I should say ever seen, but like post lockout, like I'll say it with Ovechkin. Now early in his career, yeah, Ovechkin scored a lot of different ways, but let's face it, like now every goal is the same. It's that shot from the left, like every time, and it boggles my mind that teams can't stop it. Like it's, what they're doing every time. Power play, it's coming, slapper. But like when I watch Matthews and his ability to score goals, power play, even strength, like we saw his goal, his 2 goals the other day, like one on the power play when he like bangs it in, and then another one where it's an absolute rifle of a shot. We've also seen him score on the one-timer, score with zone possession, score and goals on the rush. Now, and like to my point, the guys, it's kind of funny how hockey works. Like the guys who are considered the best goal scorers, like pure goal scorers, don't necessarily always score the most goals. Like if that makes sense. Like you always hear like, oh, Bossy is the greatest goal scorer of all time. And Mike Bossy's fucking amazing. And I love Mike Bossy. But then you're looking like, well, Gretzky scored way more goals. So why is it not Gretzky? And to that point, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like Ovechkin may score more goals, but Matthews to me is the better pure goal scorer in the way that he scores different ways, different situations. And for that reason, and because of his age and the timing, like I would go with him. Like all things being even, I would go with him right now to take it.
Yeah, I like Matthews as well. McDavid is also a great bet. I mean,
how far behind is he?
He's plus 570.
Okay.
to win the Rocket.
And how many goals does he have?
He's got 22 goals, I believe, right now.
Really, they give you those odds then.
I know that's the thing, right? He's ahead of Matthews right now, but he's below him in the odds to win the Rocket Richard.
It kind of goes to my point, like how like hockey's always looked at, where it's like McDavid has more goals, but I think most people would agree, like, well, Matthews is the better goal scorer, right? Just
yeah, I agree. I think Matthews scores goals in more ways than Ovechkin does. Just to piggyback off of your point, and looking at the stats, Lepore, isn't it fitting that those three guys are top three in the race for the Rocket Richard? Because since Matthews entered the league in 2016, 2017, he leads the NHL in goals per game at 0.61 goals per game. Second on that list is Ovechkin at 0.58, and Draisaitl is third at 0.51. And just in terms of pure goals, they're also 1, 2, 3. Ovechkin's actually first. So even though Matthews leads in goals per game, he's actually played about 25, 30 less games than Ovechkin. So Ovechkin's got 227, Matthews 219, and Draisaitl 201. They're the only three guys who have scored over 200 goals since Matthews' rookie season.
Yeah. So to the point I made, again, I'm sure people freaked out, like my take that, and again, it came out like best goal scorer I've ever seen. I was more referring to like post-lockout era, that I very well might put him in the category of the best one, like the best goal scorer I've seen in the post-lockout. He's been in the league. This is 6th year in the league, and he scores more goals per game than anyone else. So it's not a hot take.
No, it's not a hot take at this point. Like Matthews, I think he's the best goal scorer in the world. And I know he's third right now, just in terms of pure goals this season. But you just look at the numbers since he entered the league, the ways that he's able to score goals. I mean, this dude he's on another tier. And listen, it's hard to say that when Ovechkin is probably going to go down as the greatest, goal scorer of all time. Just when he eventually passes your boy Wayne Gretzky, Lepore.
Do it. That's a podcast. That's a podcast on its own, Bruno.
That is a podcast in itself. But I still think I think Matthews is better. I really do. And who knows if he's ever going to hit those numbers. Like, is Matthews ever going to get to 700 goals, 800 goals? I mean, that's very much in question, just in terms of, I mean, even up to this point in his career, he hasn't played full seasons every year, right? He's had some injury issues here and there, but just in terms of pure goal scoring talent, Matthews, I think is the best in the world right now. Is there anyone else you think you'd bet on for the Rocket, Lepore? At this point,
No.
Like, would you sprinkle money on Connor McDavid?
I would say McDavid. Like, I wouldn't leave the top 3 or 4, like from a bet standpoint. Because like the other like traditional guys, I'll say it, like haven't had the best starts. Like, for example, Pasternak, we said he won a couple of years ago. He had a rough start. I'm trying to think of other guys, like who other guys who've like won recently besides those. But
I'm just looking at the leaderboard right now, man. There's really not a whole lot of guys that I would throw money on. Like right now, Chris Kreider is 4th in the league in goals with 18 goals. Like, I am not touching Chris Kreider.
He was on a crazy tear
to win the Rocket Richard. And Kyle Connor also has 18 goals. I mean, he's an interesting guy. He's, I believe, a 3-time 30-goal scorer. I believe his career high is like 37 or 38.
You get crazy odds on a guy like that.
Yeah, his career high is 38. So I'm not totally interested in a Kyle Connor bet. It's going to be one of those 3. Draisaitl, Ovechkin, Matthews, and McDavid sitting at 17. I don't think anyone would be surprised if McDavid at one point just says, you know what?
Yeah.
Screw it. I'm just going to score like 55 this season.
Remember the year Sid did that?
Yeah.
When he just
season.
He just decided like, I'm going to be a goal scorer this year, and just scored it well and won the Rocket. It's weird to think of Sid winning the Rocket, to be fair.
Oh, 100%. How we see him as viewed as a playmaker. It's the same thing with McDavid, right? Like huge point totals, but most of their points coming from assists. And then when you see Sid bury 50, you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize he had this in him. And I view McDavid in the same light. Like, I would not be surprised if he has a 50 or 60 goal season in him just because he's Connor McDavid.
Yeah. The things with these players too, like versus the other guys, like they just get so hot. Like we talk about like Matthews having like 13 goals in 10 games. Like Connor McDavid can have like 5 goals in 2 games. Like you're not shocked. Like Ovechkin, you're not shocked. They're just incredible goal scorers. So that's why like they're on another planet. Like once you leave those top 3 or 4, yeah, like to your point about like the betting, like, nah, you're getting really thin.
Yeah, 100%.